welcome back to Autism, A New Perspective, the podcast show where we help you understand what is going on in the mind of your child. And we always encourage you that growth for your child is possible. I'm Kat Lee, and in this week's podcast, I visited with RDI parent and consultant Karla Galvan. Karla shares with us the amazing impact RDI has had on her son's life despite the tremendous obstacles that have challenged him. Let's listen in. Karla, thank you so much for joining us. And I think, maybe this is as a mom, that we're going to talk about a hard subject today. Our children are our heart. So talking about some of the struggles and obstacles they've had to overcome. We talk a lot about crisis and parents and parent obstacles, but really it's our children who are so brave and so resilient because they're really the ones who have the struggle. And so I know I'm asking you to talk about that today, and I really appreciate you for being willing to. And I really just want you to tell us a little about the early life of Lorenzo, what you were told when you went and got a diagnosis, and then those first couple of years, what you came to realize about him.
Yeah, it is a hard topic, but I think it has to be said because people need to understand this kind of population or this diagnosis, especially because, as you said, the first thing they told me when I got the diagnosis is that I had to stop any expectations of him, that he was not going to do anything, that he was not have a quality life, and of course that my family will have to think about what we want to do with him in the future. Like they really told us that I mean he wasn't dead, but he was like, yeah, this is a life sentence for us.
I don't even want to ask you, how did that make you feel? Because that really feels like a ridiculous question to me. But how did it come over you? Because I don't know how did you process that? I mean, hearing those words, and I unfortunately have heard them as well. Did you believe that?
In that moment, you do believe it, but you don't believe it. It's like a mix of feelings because then you think that they are right because they are the ones who know best. But on the other hand, I was looking at my little baby. He was just 2 years old, and they were telling me what was going to happen to him. And so I was like, these feelings that okay, they know, but how can they know about him? And even though Lorenzo had a lot of vulnerabilities and a lot of obstacles because he was he had an autism that is very complex. I still see this child, just it was a baby. He was 2 years old, who was jumping, who was, who was alive, very alive. So it's like it's a process that you have to. Okay, I need to stop think about what's going to happen with him. But on the other hand, you see that he's able to. So it's a feeling that you are all fighting to one against other because you don't want to believe it, but they're telling you. It's very hard to explain. I don't know if I explain it.
You did, and I was thinking that, when the children are 18 months, 2 years, 2.5, even 3, people will get this news sadly, even today. I know he's going to be 22, I think, this year.
Yeah.
They still get those awful words today, not autism. That's not the awful word. The awful word is, he's not, you're going to end up I think you were told in an institution or something, is what you were told. But it's we don't know what's going to happen. And so sometimes the children will start talking and they will get better feedback from the doctors. In your case, I think, if you don't mind sharing, you started to see signs that he was really in trouble. How was that? Tell us a little bit about that time and what you started seeing.
Well, I already had my daughter who was almost 4 years old. He still was 3 years old, so almost 4 years old. Well, when he was diagnosed, he only was four, and then I have a six baby. So for me, I they say do not compare, but you do compare, you know. So I was seeing my girls growing up very fast, and taking the hands very fast, like little sponges. And I didn't see that in my son. I saw that he was pretty much alive because he was jumping and running. He wasn't jumping, he was running, like aimless and things like that. But he was not learning anything. He couldn't say any word. He just screamed. Even if he was very happy, he screamed a lot, or he was very sad, so he screamed a lot. So there were a lot of screaming in my house from him. And I remember having my 6 month old, like, well, she's doing the things, and she's just 6 months, and she's doing more things than her brother. And then I remember, the how my oldest one was developing, and it was not nearly, the even equal, not even somehow. It was completely, he was like shut down in that part of learning things. I started RDI pretty soon. He was diagnosed, but it was like it took us 1 year to get to the diagnosis, because we saw all the challenges. He was the milestones he didn't had, like pointing, looking at the eyes, things like they always tell you or ask you, or you expect. And well, when he was diagnosed, and then I learn about RDI, I saw the difference, because what I saw is that with just the slowing it down and not talking too much, and all the principles, he was starting to have more contact with us. But the learning, the the speech things, the understanding the words, understanding what we were saying to him, understanding his environment, that didn't go like as natural as we expected. And I was looking at other kids, because then you start to know in the community, and then I was looking to other kids, and I saw that naturally they were having that. And I saw that my son was not even emerging to those kind of things. So that's when I came and I said, okay, he's getting better, he's more connected, but we still need to do more, because he has more challenges. And I right now I say that was not autism. Of course it's part of autism, but I think for him, because I haven't seen that in other kids. I saw that he had some other issues, that I had to work on.
I think that, though, is a message of hope because you did do that. What do you think were some keys to that? Because there's a lot of children who are in this situation, and it can be hard to maintain hope for that. What were a couple of keys for you?
I had to tell you, and you were there. In that moment, when I realized that we had to work a lot, I wanted to throw the towel. And I think I did for some months. It took me time to process. For me, it was again going over again what he needs, what I want from him, what he can do, what he cannot do. Stop looking at him as someone who cannot do anything, but let's see how he learns. I knew that he could learn. I didn't know how, but I knew he could learn, because he was already walking. So he learned to walk. He was doing stops that, even though it didn't came natural for him, but with taught him. So I knew that we had to look and figure out how we how he learned, and we have to learn from him. So we taught him a very step by very systematic way. Uh, I had to understand. It took me, I had to say again, it took me time because I didn't want to do it. I don't even want to be a teacher for him. I wanted to be a mom. But the other thing is that the only person who was going to be with him, it was me. So, and I was in that moment, I didn't know a lot of autism, but I did know about my son. So I have to believe in myself. I had to work on myself and believe. And the moment I believe, I remember the moment I believe it was in my sister-in-law's kitchen when I was talking to her, and I say I don't know what to say, and she just told me you're just gonna figure out. And just when I heard that from her, I said she knows me. She knows my obstacles. She knew me very well. So if she says that I can do it, I can do it, you know? And the key is just believe in myself. That will be the first key.
Well, and it's one of the hardest keys as a parent. And why? Because I know, am I right? You were a graphic design. Was that your,
Yeah.
that's, you're an artist, basically. You know, my background was in radio. What do we know?
Yeah. Nothing.
I always want to say, we're both RDI consultants now. We have been for some time. And oh, well, did you have a degree? No. I would be on the radio. You want to be doing your art thing.
Hmm.
That's what we planned. And so, no, we
Yeah.
didn't know anything. And both of us as parents came in. I know I did anyway. I won't speak for you, as a blank slate on child development. I had an older daughter, as you know, but I just had fun with her. I wasn't paying attention. So, and then all of a sudden, you're very much paying attention and you're in that position.
When I talk about severe, I understood more as a not a sentence in that moment. I was like, okay, we have to work a lot, you know. Now, 6 years after, when I started to see that he was not getting a lot of stuff, I was like, well, he's very severe. This is very complex, you know. And then when they started to talk about the levels, for me it was I don't care anymore about the levels. I just care about Lorenzo, and he has, for me, it's a complex autism. It's not a profound autism because he's very connected to us, and I will see that he's connected. It takes time to teach him. We have to teach him a lot of things. We still have to teach him a lot of things in a very systematic way. But once he gets it, he gets it, and he's doing extraordinary things. So it's very difficult for me to label him. I say always now level 3, so people understand all the things that we have done, because now when you see Lorenzo, people say, oh, he's not that bad.
Oh,
And I was like, just give me 5 minutes and you will see all the obstacles. Yeah, but because he follows instructions, he can go out, he understands the uncertainty, that he can regulate when there's a lot of changes. So they don't they that's autism, and they don't see that on him, so they are always like, well, yeah, you don't have it that hard. And I'm like, I we have a lot of a big work with him, 27. We still have to work on him. So yeah, he's neurodivergent. I like that word actually. Now it took me a time to understand that word, but I like that once I understood it, because it says it's his brain is different. But I have to speak for him because he still has a lot of complex situations, and he still has to work in complex that other people do not work, even if they have another level of autism.
well, I love what you're saying because you're talking about what he has to do and how invested he is in his own self-agency. He's the one who
Mhm.
really has had to do so much. And um, but what I know is that through this process, you've continued to build your relationship with him, as has his dad, as has his family, which is so important. And I remember you telling me, you've told me through the years, but you tell me on a regular basis that you're if it's just you and him, or for a day or a week, it's fine. You all have a good time together, and I just you can't put a value on that. It has so much value. It's beyond.
When our children are diagnosed, we I feel that sometimes we're the selfish ones because we're the one who suffered. We are the one who had the pain inside us. But when you have to understand at the end, they are the ones who's gonna work more. They are the ones who are not who have to put all the effort, even if they don't want to, because if now they say now the no paradigm that says, well, you just look for things that he likes, and I say, yeah, but we have a family, we're part of five.
Mhm.
So this is reciprocal, we as a family have to do things that we don't like because of the other member, so sometimes my daughter wants to do something and I don't want to do it, but I will do it for her. The same thing with her. So with Lorenzo it's the same thing, but now I have to understand it's not my of course I have to work on this to help him, but at the end the effort is for him, it's him. At the end, the person who suffers, or the person who has the to make his own effort, it's him. And each day I admire him because I know that he's always working on him, and he's still very happy. And but yes, it's important to understand that even though as a family we suffer, they you have to multiply by two for them.
Tell us about him now and why understanding potentiality is so important.
It is important because, as you said, 19 years ago when he was diagnosed, they said it was a life sentence that we wouldn't do anything. He's now 21 years old, and he has been doing art. His art has been exhibited in United States, in Mexico. We're gonna be in France in November in the Fashion Week. He plays the piano, he runs marathons, he plays basketball, he plays tennis. He is a black, I forgot the word, the black
Bell?
belt. Thank you, from karate. We go out a lot. We love to go out. We travel. We travel to different places. We have been even in Japan, and that's really me. That was a challenge. He eats like with us normal food. I would say normal is whatever we have at home. He eats the same as us. He enjoys go to the cinemas. He enjoys go to the theaters. He enjoys just stay with the parties. He loves to be in weddings and others. Um, every day he does everything by himself. Sometimes, of course, he dresses himself, and you're like, oh, I don't like what you're dressing, but we don't care anymore. He's dressing, and that's what he likes. He takes care of himself. Yeah, sometimes he needs a little bit of help because well, maybe he needs shaving his beard or everything, but he does everything. He really is part of the family, and he's now even has his job with the art. So you have we couldn't if you tell me 20 years 1 years ago after the diagnosis that he was going to be able to do that, I would say nah, no, no, no. And now he's doing it, and he is still learning, and every day he teaches me something new. Uh, Instead of I'm teaching him, he teaches me, and I have to say I admire him, how he handles life, how he handles the chaos in the lifestyle day, how he handles the uncertainty, the changes, abruptly changes. Sometimes he's the one. I have moved from three different countries, and the always my worries was about his changes with him, and he take it easier than my daughter sometimes, so this is because we have worked a lot.
Finally, new parents seeing these obstacles for their child, what would you say to them?
It is a very difficult journey. It is. I know I am. People say right now that I am the monja. It's admired, but nobody wants to be me. I understand. But once you have a kid, once you have a baby, it's you have to do everything for them. I mean, I would give my life to my three children, even though they're not children anymore. uh, just knowing that even though it's a very difficult journey, that you have your ups and highs, and your ups and highs, sorry, your ups and downs. Your downs could be terrible. It's, I mean, you don't want to be the downs. I know that. I've been there, and I know I'm gonna be in downs a lot of time. But at the end, not the end, because I'm still working. There's no end. But you can see then behind, after 21 years, I will say, look what have we done as a family and where he is. And so there's no impossibles. And if there is impossibles, then you make it possible. And if you cannot make possible, you ask for help. It's important that you ask for help. It's okay. We are not gods. We are human beings, and sometimes we need help. And it's okay to say I'm tired. It's okay to say I want to throw the towel. But next time I will tell you, you can be 3 days, your towel's gonna be on the floor, but the 3 days after, you have to take the towel again and put it on the place, because nobody's gonna do it for you. So it is very hard. I know that you didn't ask for that. I know that sometimes you don't even want to get out of your bed, but but it is possible.
And thanks for joining us for Autism, a New Perspective, the podcast show where we help you understand what is going on in the mind of your child. And we encourage you that growth for your child is possible. I'm Kat Lee. See you next time.